Well, it's not even the transfer window hasn't even opened yet, but the gossip is going everywhere. Over the course of last season, we did Rosette, where Gonzo did his weekly news roundup. We did Talk a Game, where we gave our opinions on the match. So we're combining the two, and we're giving you our opinions on the transfer news. Hammers Chat had their own big transfer this weekend as we moved to a new forum at hammerschat.com. So do make sure you join up. Even if you're an existing member of the forum, you must register with the new one. But be delighted to see as many of you as possible. Anyway, I'm Gio from Hammers Chat. I've got Gonzo with me as per normal. Gonzo, what do you make of the striker then? It looks like we're going to be bringing in a marquee and a cheaper one / loanee. What's your thoughts on all the gossip going round?
Well, first, before we talk about the gossip, I do think we need strikers. So let's look at the area that we're trying to deal with. Carroll has probably had almost his longest period without injury for us, so that was great. But he is an injury-prone striker. Sacco is also an injury-prone striker, and even if he were to stay fit, he's going to go along to the African Cup of Nations, which is happening this year as well. Emenike, of course, has returned, and we've got Valencia, who is hit and miss. Mostly miss. So I think we do need strikers. So obviously we're looking at this big marquee signing, but the one you just alluded to would be that second striker. So the rumours have been for the Toulouse striker Braithwaite, I believe, but I think he scored 10 goals, but perhaps more from the wing, which would sort of suit Bilic's formation, because he does like to chuck his strikers out wide if at all possible.
Yeah, we've got him and Caleri from the South American side of it with the loan. It looks like he could be coming on loan. I've never heard of him. I can only assume you've never heard of him as well, have you?
No, I have heard of him, only since we've been linked with him. I'm not going to lie and say I've got an encyclopedic knowledge of all these players. Once we're linked, like everybody else, I'll go and I'll have a look. But to be honest with you, there's nothing irritates me more than a YouTube video where you spend the first 50 to 60 seconds watching them running around, hugging the crowd and listening to music. So I think you've got to get quite a way into a lot of these videos before you see any actual footage. And let's be perfectly honest with you, Gio, I could take you down the park and give you a football and I could edit a video and make you look like Pele. So, I mean, I don't... And don't forget, Julian Faubert had a cracking YouTube video. So let's get that into context.
Let's get straight. You would not need to edit my video. Anyway, let's go to the marquee striker. As soon as the season was finished, we seemed to throw in a £31 million bid for Lacazette. Do you think we've messed up there a little bit by showing our hand too quickly? Because now, if we don't get Lacazette and we go for Benteke or Batshuayi, whoever we go for, they know we've got 30 million set aside for a striker, do they not?
Yeah, we've got owners that are fans, though. We've not got a cool and collected Thai consortium or a US hedge fund, and they can't wait. They're trigger happy, and I sort of like it. I mean, do you remember when Avram Grant got sacked? They rented out the room from Dave Wheeler straight. So we need a room. We need to sack the manager. The same with Allardyce. You know, as soon as the season was ended, they said we're not renewing Allardyce's contract. You know, he basically discussed it in his post-match press conference, didn't he? That's how quick they act. They're fans, they're reactive, they're passionate, and they just want to get a striker out there. So, yeah, perhaps it's not the most wily way to do it, but I do understand it. They want their business done quickly, but there's riches in the Premier League, and the other teams know it.
So, come on, then, put your neck on the line, Gonzo. If we don't get Lacazette, who are you hoping we do bring in as the main striker?
Well, firstly, I mean, there's something big's happened with Lacazette today. There's something very, very big. Lacazette was off the radar. The deal is almost gone. He was meant to be going to PSG, but Morata looks like he's signing for PSG now. So now it looks like Lacazette will not be going to PSG. So Lacazette, it's almost he's got two more options. There's a lot of clubs that would like him, but for the money that Olympique Lyonnais want, he has two options. One of them's Arsenal and the other one's us. Clearly he'd prefer to go to Arsenal, but if they're not prepared to stump up the money, and you know what Wenger's like, he needs a striker, he needs a centre-back, he needs a midfielder, he needs all of those three things for a long time. Is he? No, probably he'll probably stick with Giroud next season and not win the league again. So I think we're back in for him. In answer to your question, if we can't get Lacazette, there's two conversations. What business are we doing? What business should we be doing? And what would I like? I like a proven striker in the Premier League, mate. I'd take a punt on Berahino. I also think Benteke has got an excellent Premier League record. I also think if you're going to spend close to 40 million, have a go for Lukaku. You know, who knows? I do like players that have done it in the Premier League.
Well, let us know your opinion. Those that are watching, let us know on our forum at hammerschat.com. Come on, come join up and have a wee chat with us. We've got a Lacazette thread, we've got a summer transfer window thread, so give us your opinions on anything. Now let's move to the other position which looks like we're going to be fulfilling, is the right back. It does look like, however, we're not going to be splashing the cash on this position, and they're quite happy to take their time, Gonzo, and try and get a freebie or someone quite cheap, if you like. Was it a case of plastering over the cracks for you, or is it a case of Sam Byram is our man, but he's just not quite ready yet, so let's give him a year away out the spotlight and get him ready?
I spoke with Terry Wesley earlier on in the season, and he rates Byram highly. And he also mentioned that Slav rates Byram highly. But it's clear that Slav doesn't think he's ready yet. And you can see that because he played anyone but Byram at right back whenever he could. So and that's fine. That's fine that he's not ready. I don't think it's papering over the cracks. I think it's actually filling a hole rather than papering over the cracks. There is a hole. We've got a hole at right back. It needs filling. We need a finished article at right back. And then Byram provides the cover. And we're looking at the fellow at PSG who's out of contract. He's I can't even remember. Van der
Weald or something like that. But it looks like he's Roma bound, though. It does look like Roma maybe got him.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else you're hoping we do get in for the right back spot, or is it just a case of see what the board can conjure up over the summer period?
Yeah, no, I'd go and buy the fella from Newcastle. Matt, is that his name? Yeah.
Yeah, that's who I want as well. I would love Daryl Janmaat. I think he's fantastic. We'll see. I mean, I think Benitez staying at Newcastle, I think, could be a curveball and hinder him leaving a wee bit because it looks like Benitez got control of the transfers. However, he did annoy a few people at Newcastle when he injured himself by punching a wall, and then he was out for a few games, which obviously was crucial in terms of staying up or not. So hopefully he's pissed a few people off. But anyway, let's talk about our two young guys who are by trade centre-backs. Let's talk about the guy that's been in the news non-stop today, Gonzo. Oh, there was a £50 million bid in. Clara and Hugh led it and said, no, there is not a £50 million bid. It's quieting down a wee bit. What's your thoughts on it all, Gonzo?
Yeah, I mean, I was plumbing in the toilet today when the news broke on it. And in all honesty, you've got to listen to Hugh on this. And I phoned Hugh straight away and said, what's the reality on this? And see, the thing is, he's got a contact book like you wouldn't believe. And he made the phone calls. And it was very, very quickly confirmed by Hughes. Big contact. I'm not going to say they are, but read between the lines. It wasn't. There's been no bid from Manchester United. There's no bid for Reece Oxford. That's not to say that there's not interest, but all of everything that's happened has been Oxford's agent has been leading all the clubs a merry dance and basically encouraging bids for him. I don't really know what's going on there. So, I mean, that's your little bit of in the know on that. In terms of just looking at it from outside's point of view, I mean, he's a nice boy. He's a polite boy. He's a quiet boy. You can't imagine him sort of leading this sort of thing. So he's being influenced. But I think you could go to Man City or Man U and get more first-team football than he will get at West Ham. It's unbelievable. The thing is, he's 17. He's a teenager. He's not 22, and he's got to realise that he is just not ready yet. And that's do you know what? It's a big position. Defensive midfield or centre back, which is where he's going to play, is a combative position. And you've got to be a man. You've got to be a grown man. And he's he needs a couple more steak and kidney pies. He needs to fill out a little bit, doesn't he? He's not quite ready yet, as technically good as he is.
Let's just say an official bid does come in, Gonzo. Let's just say one does appear, whoever it is that bids. Let's say it's 50 million. Are West Ham in a position that they can't lose, i.e. we either have a really young guy or we have 15 million for someone who's only played a couple of Premier League games, or are we in a position that we can't win where we turn down a big sum of money or we'll let a really young guy go?
I think the owners are in an awkward position because they've made the statement that West Ham are no longer a selling club, and it will reek of the old style. I've no doubt that they don't want to sell him. They've offered him a contract. We know this. He's not signing it. Having said that, I've no doubt that if they double that contract he will sign. I don't know that. I've just, that's my hunch on the issue. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, really. What I do think is different, though, is when we sold I remember selling loads of players and us bringing in TT Kamara and people like that and Rigobert Song and completely wasting all the money. I think the Lampard money paid for the West Stand, but certainly the Rio money got totally squandered, and it was sort of the start of Harry Redknapp's downfall. I think we're in a different position now. I think Sullivan's canny. I think he's got Tony Henry next to him. So I think if we did get the 15 million, I would expect not only there to be a superstar signing coming in, or for that 15 million to be reinvested really well. I think the owners would know that actually there's pressure on them, so they better, to compensate, they better bring in someone big and someone that's going to impress.
Just a yes, no answer here. You can give your reason on our phone at hammerschat.com. Gonzo, if a £15 million bid does come in, would you take it or not?
No.
Right, let's move on to our other centre-back. He's been on loan all last season, Reece Burke. Now, what I can tell you, I believe, Gonzo, is that his dad is the one that's stopping Reece Burke signing the new deal at West Ham, saying you're not signing that until you're getting more first-team minutes at the club. Right, we just spoke about it with Oxford. We can't really give him it. However, Reece Burke is a few years older. You said Oxford needs to bulk out before he's big enough to play in the Premier League. Reece Burke is a bit bigger. He is a bit older. What are you doing with Reece Burke? Apparently, there's a £5 million bid on the table from Wigan. No idea if that's true or not, but would you be looking at selling him, or would you be batting those offers away and trying to get him into the first team next season?
We're a different West Ham. We're trying to go for higher positions, and it becomes increasingly difficult to get younger players into the team. Ogbonna, as you know, I think has been a revelation. I don't see, apart from the injured company, I don't see a better centre-back in the Premier League than Ogbonna. Reed is, well, we all know all about him. I like Tompkins, rate Tompkins, and of course Ginger's done a fantastic job so it's very difficult for anybody else to get in. I mean, I know that you are in the know on this Reece Burke far more than I am on this issue. So I think it's going to be difficult for him. I think one of them's got to go. I don't think you can do Burke and Oxford. I think if you're going to commit, so you've got Oxford's agents want to know that he's going to get first team football. You've got Reece Burke and his dad. They want to know that he's going to get first team football. Really, if that's going to happen, you're looking at League Cup and you're looking at Europa League. That basically the management can say, okay, look, we'll try and blood you in this way. You're not going to be able to blood both of them. So you've got one or the other next to a James Collins in the Europa League. One of them's got to go and something's got to give.
Well, before we talk about our last position, which is the attacking midfielder, do bear in mind that we're filming this on the 30th of May. We'll be doing as much videos as we can over the course of the summer, so Gonzo's opinion may very well change. If we qualify for the Europa League, I'd imagine it might, because there's obviously a lot more game time to give the youngsters. So we'll try and cover it, but it's the 30th of May. But if you're disagreeing, do make sure you give us your opinion on the forum. Gonzo, attacking midfielder then. You've actually been talking to someone today about it, haven't you?
Yeah. I've spoken to a top agent about it, and there was rumours going around about we'd made a bid for 10.3 million for Pereira from Juventus, who's a very, very skillful player. He's a very good player, and he's struggling to get in ahead of Marquisio and Paul Pogba at Juventus. They've got, even Vidal went last season, but so over the last few years they've had a rich tradition of good midfielders. He's a skillful player. He's very good, and as my son tells me, he's very good on FIFA as well, apparently. However, there was apparently an agent. Well, I'll tell you the agent that was meant to have confirmed it. Barry Silkman was meant to have leaked the story and confirmed it. Nothing of the sort happened. That did not happen. That is just an internet rumor. He did not confirm that, and he did not leak that story. I think, and because that for some reason has been doing the rounds in Italy. I'm not saying there's no interest in the player, but forget that. Everyone's desperate. Everyone needs a story at the moment, so people are sort of really grasping for anything that they can. On a West Ham level, I'm not sure that's a position we particularly need at the moment. I think that the club are looking at the positions we've discussed, which are right back, striker, and we know we're looking at another winger. Of course, Jurgen Tor has been extensively linked with us as well.
Well, let's talk about him then. He has been linked non-stop. Is it lazy journalism to you, Gonzo, because it's Bilic plus former club equals transfer rumour, or do you think there's something to it?
Okay, so I don't know we haven't got much time. Okay, go back to Allardyce. The club took the power away from Allardyce in terms of recruitment. Allardyce did a terrible job. Maega, Diarra, but as soon as basically David Sullivan, by all intents and purposes, director of football, he is ably assisted by Tony Henry. The moment they started identifying players, Kiate, Sacco, Cresswell, all of a sudden the recruitment became better. When Bilic signed on with the deal, unlike Allardyce. Bilic knew that he wasn't going to select most of the players, but Bilic was allowed, some say, in some players, but the majority are going to be signed by the club. Bilic chose Ogbonna, for instance. The club was surprised that he came in and wanted a centre-back. So that was really good. But Bilic also decided that he wanted Jelavic, and he also decided that he wanted Emenike. So I think sometimes his judgment is a little bit flawed. Tor is a Bilic request. So I think I think if you're going to spend 40-50 million, they want to give Bilic a player. So for instance, Lacazette is very much, I think, is Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Henry's choice. I know for a fact that Slaven Bilic is a particular fan of Benteke, and if not, then probably another larger striker, as it were. Tories, he's one. Personally, I've not seen much of him. I really like Redmond. I thought Redmond, even in the relegated team, looked very, very good. But I mean, I can't see Gherkin going anywhere other than West Ham, to be perfectly honest with you, even though the deal's not done yet.
Well, there you have it. There's Gonzo's opinions, as we've been talking about all the way through. We've got a new forum. Make sure you do subscribe, though. We'll be doing as much videos as we can over the summer, including one soon where we'll be inviting you lot on to our show called Talk West Ham. We want to hear as many of your opinions as possible. If you think Gonzo's wrong and he's talking about a load of rubbish, let us know. I tell him if I think he's speaking about a load of rubbish anyway. But do check out clarenandhugh.info every single day. There's loads of transfer gossip going around. He's the one ringing up people at the club. You can find out who it is. Just click on his site and have a look as well, and you'll get all the transfer stories there. If you haven't already seen it, we did an end of season award show part 1, which was out. We covered Player of the Year, Most Improved, Signing of the Season, and something else. And coming out later this week, we've got the goals. We're talking about other stuff, and we've got another.
It was the most disappointing player of the season was the other category.
Disappointing player of this season, but we've got another one coming out as well, so make sure you subscribe, you don't miss it. But thank you very much for joining us on our first summer show where we're talking about the transfers, but most importantly, hammerschat.com. It's our new forum, and we'll see you there.